Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update for everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. So I have an update, today, let's just say it's October 17th, and I have an update for the whole of the weekend. So today's episode is going to be a little bit meandering, and I don't have time to do a recap of what happened on Friday. You can just go back and watch Friday's episode. So with that in mind, let's get started. So there was a post here from Vitalik Buterin who said, however, this is a game of probabilities, and as of now, RPL doesn't look like a bargain deal to me. So I guess what Vitalik Buterin here was saying is that RPL's price is looking like it's already had the gains that it's already had. Obviously, we've performed really well compared to ETH over the last year. And, we reacted really strongly off the bottoms a few months ago. And, we like 3 UpX from there. So he says it's not a bargain anymore. So a few people got in response with that. And they really talked about what that means. So Valdorff said, that looks good to me. We'll see, quite literally place your bets. So I've placed my bets obviously on RPL still increasing in value a lot. And so has Valdorff, and it actually led to a really good discussion that came up here about how RPL might grow, where it is in the growth cycle, about innovators, early investors, early majority, later majority, and laggers. And Valdorff was saying that RPL might still be in the early investors phase, the innovators phase. Whereas I think other people might think that we're in the early investors phase right now. And then Marceau said, really, I find it really easy to make the numbers suggest bargain deal pricing using reasonable assumptions. All depends on the assumptions of future reality, though, of course. And then Marceau went on to say, basically, if staking participation rate goes up, or Rocket Pool market share goes up, or Rocket Pool can deliver tech improvements, then it's a good bet in my opinion. I actually think we can nail 2, if not all 3 of those. My assumptions and the side probabilities are listed here. So Marceau's obviously expectations are $20,000 ETH and $2,000 RPL in the next bull run. So that was a nice discussion. You can go back and read that. Object had some mini pools that dissolved, and it says, while on the topic of dissolved mini pools, is the next person being dissolved in 5 days, and there's a Twitter account, Retroflex ETH, being dissolved 5 days. They don't clear the stuck transaction. Please tweet at them. I can't handle 2 dissolves in less than a week. So that mini pools was actually saved, but what happens is people set up their stake function, I think, with gas that's too low. I'm not sure of the exact mechanism, the way it happens, but I think they set gas as too low, and then the price doesn't go, the gas price doesn't go that low, and then their mini pool just gets dissolved because they didn't go back and check if it started staking or not. So the easy way to fix that is edit the transaction that you use to stake your mini pool and increase the gas cost you're willing to pay, and then it should go through right away. So keep that in mind. Yeah, and then object said here the mini pool was saved, and then he got really happy and dropped the mic and left. So as you can see here on Etherscan, it actually went through at 18 Gwei gas. So that's really good that got saved. So good job with that object. Maverick shared this link, twitter.com/rocketpools. Can you spare a minute to help report this fake account? And then Rocket Pools, they multiplied and reported. And then Invis saw that there were a few other fake accounts too. There's this Rocket Pool live chat, Rocket Pool support. So please be diligent out there. Please be careful that there are scam accounts out there. They're trying to steal your money. If you see them, please report them. However, just be suspicious of interacting with any service that asks for your seed phrase or asks you to send ETH, anything like that. We had this post from Ken, who had an update from Bogota. He says Kane's walking around with a Rocket Pool cap like it's like a rock star. Everybody keeps coming up to him wanting to take a picture with him. So there's Kane on the right. There's some people on the left. I don't know who they are. I'm sorry if I'm supposed to recognize them. I don't. But it's really cool that the Rocket Pool team is kind of getting known out there in the wider Ethereum community. It seems like there's a lot of really cool stuff that's been happening in Bogota that I'll come back to in a bit. Valdorff shared this link for Rocket Pool DeFi opportunities. It's a bot that he used, support template use, and there's a URL. And Valdorff says, hey all, check out this new thing Whisker and I put together. If you want to help contribute, maintain, please DM me and I can add you as an editor. So what is the document? It's a Google Doc, and in the Google Doc you have summary table of different strategies where you can get yield. It says this is a list of volunteer selected strategies. They're not reviewed or anything. They are not financial advice. Do your own research, and then you can go through there and get an idea of all the different places you can earn yield on your Rocket Pool related products. So, you know, we've got on mainnet, we've got Balancer, we've got yield farming on Aura, and Balancer on Badger. On Balancer, we have the rETH RPL pool, and then on layer 2, we have the optimism pool, and like so on. It gives you a good idea of what the yields available are and what the tokens are and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool that this is out there, that the community is putting this together. It's quite comprehensive. However, hopefully in the next few weeks and months, you know, this will be like a big thing. Like, it'll be a really useful document, I think, for anyone wanting to get that information. So definitely check that out if you're looking for yield on your crypto. Marceau shared this really interesting comment. He said, this is interesting. If you look at your raw yield, then max collateral has higher yield than minimum collateral, 8.2% max versus 6.5% minimum blended yield. However, if you factor in inflation and look at net yield, then 150% is actually lower yielding. So if you have a look over here, then when you stake at 10% collateralization, your yield bearing power is 2.16. And if you stake 150% collateral, then your yield bearing power is 0.76. So that is definitely really interesting. It says this is because at minimum collateral, you're getting more commission bang for your buck, and RPL actually has a lower net yield than ETH. And then somebody asked the question, Stephen L says, can you elaborate on point A? It's flying over my head. And Marceau says, at minimum collateral, you're spending 1.6 ETH in RPL to earn 15% commission on 16 ETH. At max collateral, you're earning the same amount of commission, but it's costing you 24 ETH of RPL to earn that. So Steven says, got it, thank you. And then Marceau says, I should add a column for net APR, which if we scroll down, then there is this that he shares. And you can see that at 16 ETH mini pools, at 10%, your net APR blended is 7.2% pretty much, but at 150%, it's 5.5%, 5.6%. And at 4 ETH mini pools, at 10%, it's 9.6%. So, you know, you're getting a good nearly 2.5% of rewards more. But at 150%, it's 5.09% or 5.1%. So this is definitely something to keep in mind. However, Valdorff has an interesting comment as always. He says, now do it including RPL's price 50% price appreciation per year. So what happens is, like, this model obviously doesn't account for or what a lot of us who are staked at 150% account for is that the RPL price is going to go up compared to ETH, and by taking that into factoring that into your analysis, then the yield for the higher percentages would still be better. So Valdorff says everything under 6.5% is worse than solo staking if the RPL ratio is steady. Realistically, I expect the RPL ratio to be the biggest deal until we mature, but Marcy's model shows why we're likely to get low collateral forks dominating as we mature. So that's a really interesting idea, that as you know, the RPL growth like slows down and it goes under 6.5%, then it might be better to have minimally collateralized pools instead of maximally collateralized pools. So that's definitely an interesting take. Vaca here shared this new bot that he's creating. So the old RPIT bot command RPIT bot command would show Zero's RPIT 1 thesis and Zero's RPIT 2 thesis with the basics of projections as well. However, the new, what Vaca is suggesting, that the new RPIT command will actually bring up Marceau's thesis and Jasper's cases and 1B Gymnast's thesis and Hani Abu's thesis collection on the community site. So that is working, and he asked everyone involved, is this okay with you? And yeah, so that's a cool bot. I think that'll be really useful for people who want a refresher on what different people in the community think, where the price of RPL is heading. So next we have this comment from Butta. Butta here says, okay guys, hiring a community manager for the Explorer, DM me. So if anyone is looking for a job as a community manager, they might have missed it, that Butta is hiring for a community manager. For those who don't know, Butta works for Beacon Chain Explorer. So I guess they're looking for a community manager for the Beacon Chain Explorer. He says, Phil Cares says, Mav like CM. So Mav is obviously Rocket Pool's community manager, Maverick. And Butta says, more or less, depending on your skill set, could also involve business dev, project management, etc. And people saying like shitposting and trading is all I can do. And Butta says that's a good start. So, and then Invis says that he's a professional shit poster as well, so he has decades of experience doing it. So that, if you are interested in applying for this job, or if you think that you might be suited for this position, reach out to Butta and yeah, take it up with him. Next, we have this comment from Valdorff that's just like a little sneak peek. He says, I was very excited to see Badger and Iron Bank pairing with rETH for liquidity providing, like it begins. So if you go to the rETH liquidity incentives page, there's obviously always really good discussion happening in there. This is where the real alpha is. And you can see that different protocols are like doing this of their own volition in a way. Like we're not actively reaching out to them. So Iron Bank and Badger doing that was really great to see. And I hope that it carries on doing, because this is what we need. We need as many DeFi integrations as possible to boost up that liquidity, which will boost more integrations and more rETH minting. So that would be really good. Okay, so this is kind of funny that it started on trading. It was basically like total spam based on the Magic 8 Ball, but it was really good, some good answers in a row. So here we had Dr. Doofus, who started the ball rolling. He said, is rETH a good bet for future investments? And Magic 8 Ball says most likely. And then Invis said, is crypto dead? Magic 8 Ball says don't count on it. Invis says, is Rocket Pool dead? And Magic 8 Ball says no. Question is, will rETH flip BTC in the next 4 years? My reply is no, says the Magic 8 Ball. Will the next crypto bull market be within the next 4 years? And Magic 8 Ball says it is certain. And then we have, will Invis lose his shit and destroy all of humanity with his sarcasm and memes? And the outlook is good. And then Zero says, will RPIT, Rocket Pool investment thesis, become true? And Magic 8 Ball says signs point to yes. And then Valdorff says, to summarize, we'll have a bull run led by BTC in the next 4 years. Up here will do well, and Zero will eventually get a Lambo. And then Invis says, will Bitcoin survive the next 10 years? Magic 8 Ball says, very doubtful. And then Nosho says, will Bitcoin survive the next 11 years? And Magic 8 Ball says, concentrate and ask again. So Nosho asks again, and Magic 8 Ball says, my reply is no. And then Valdorff says, oh good, my plan was to hold BTC for one more bull run and then sell. Good, resurrection, check, Keklord. And then Noshua asks again, will Bitcoin survive the next 12 years? And Magic 8 Ball says, very doubtful. And Noshua says, stop trying to break it. And 0x Numero says, that's not how you're supposed to use it, Noshua. And then Noshua says, will Bitcoin survive the next 13 years? And Magic 8 Ball says, very doubtful. So this went on and on. Like there was way more like Magic 8 Ball stuff, but I think that's where it peaked. And that was a fun little thing happening a couple of days ago. So next we had this really interesting discussion about withdrawals and how it might impact Rocket Pool, and Marceau actually had interesting things. So 0x Numero says withdrawals will enable better flexibility for stakers. People who don't stake because they don't want to lock their ETH for an uncertain amount of time will start validating, reducing yields for everyone in the absence of sufficiently large rise in network activity. And Marceau says, in my opinion, there's a bearish case for RPL with withdrawals, but that's not it. And then TJK says, I'm curious what you think it is. And Marceau says, trapped RPL supply now has a path to exit and become liquid. And then Steve Thomas says, meaning people will exit their Rocket Pool validators. Marceau says, yes, barring some huge protocol issue or the rise of some Rocket Pool competitor. I can't imagine why anyone would do that. I do see your point though. And Marceau says, well, let's say you enter at 10% collateral and RPL ETH did 10x. Now you're at 100% collateral. There is a financial incentive to exit, sell RPL to rebalance, and then re-enter. And then he goes on to explain, you can either have high RPL value or high RPL APR. You can't have both. In response to Steve saying APR would go up, price would go down though. And then Marceau says, I want the RPL APR to creator to go down. Obviously, the more people that stake, the more the demand for RPL goes higher and the higher the price goes. So you can either have the high value for it or the high APR. You can't have both. So that's really interesting point, like that people don't fully understand, I think, or don't think about that often when it comes to withdrawals. Then we've got another comment here from Steve Toma, who says, if the price of ETH continues to rise, say to $20,000, do you think ETH will then get more centralized? I could see a scenario where ETH moons, many small fish node operators would exit and sell for fiat for the huge gain. Then the only person's entities buying enough ETH to run the validator would be big players, corporations, right? New entrants to buying Ether will only buy small amounts, and if wanting to stake would likely go the LSD route than trying to accumulate enough to run a node. LEBs help mitigate this risk to a degree, but even at 4 ETH LEBs, that's 100k for the ETH and RPL. It's actually a little bit more than 100k because it'd be 80k for the ETH and then 2.8 ETH worth of RPL, which would be $108,000. So Valdorff says at 20k with 4 ETH LEBs, similar to a solo staker now, and I say actually that's double of solo staking now, but like still the point stands. And it says, I said, sadly, I think there'll be some truth to your thought. However, I think we have a whole bunch of true believers who will hold on through thick and thin, regardless of what's happening. I can only speak for myself, and I'm thinking of doing the forever hold plan. I'll restake my ETH and sell my RPL rewards to live off them, I hope. I think a whole lot of people here will have similar ideas to me. So at 4 ETH LEBs, depending on how many mini pools you have, you can unstake. You can take off your rewards and restake them as soon as you reach 4 ETH every time. And obviously that's kind of compounding your ETH rewards. And then your RPL mini pools, the rewards that you get from those, you could just live off them. That's kind of my plan, but it's difficult. So yeah. And then that discussion goes on, and we talk about 1 ETH mini pool, 1 ETH LEBs, and how that might not work, even with forced exits. And I said there's a huge temptation to sell everything if we hit 20k ETH and $2,000 RPL, and there'll be a lot of temptation to do that. So those are good problems to have, I think. Here we have this comment from Wanda. Someone asked a question about the team and when they'll be back, and Wanda said they have a terrible travel schedule, 40 plus hours, and that's Langers and Kane, who are out in Bogota. Very hard to get to Colombia and back from Australia. Really shows their dedication. The main thing that I want to share though is this little piece of bread that Wanda had. He says, yeah, they had a rough time of it. They could only get 1 day to relax before heading back too. I feel for them. Private flights from Australia, $100,000, not worth it. Let me get to the bread part. Yeah, they're working super hard to get rid of the ODAO. Lots of conversations. I was only present for some. They're pushing hard on EIP 4788. I'm not sure what EIP 4788 is, but that's really cool. And it says Kane had a long talk with Alex about getting this stuff in there. It's not an overnight process, but they know how important it is to decentralize. My biggest takeaway from DEF CON is that staking is going to be super different in a few years. Even if StakeWise's version 3 execution is fumbled, this hybrid design is very solid. So it's interesting to see that the team's already starting to plan for what staking might look like in a few years' time instead of what we have right now. So that's really good to hear. And Wonder will be giving a debrief this week at some point from what like they did as Noah operators and maybe even as like from a rocket pool perspective as well. So that's definitely going to be one to check in on the Noah Discord. Next, we have this comment. Let me just see. Oh, about transactions being censored. So there's a big thing right now going about how Flashbots is censoring 50% of transactions on on Ethereum, and how this is a big problem, and like, you know, the world is falling down and everything's collapsing. So Valdorff ran the math and he says with less than 2,000 total affected transactions since the merge. So that's the first thing that we have to keep in mind. With about half blocks censoring, that means they waited maybe an extra 12 seconds. So at 50% of censoring blocks, you wait an extra 12 seconds to get your transaction through. I say maybe because a censoring relay might be more profitable, in which case, shrug, you'd wait anyhow. Quick math, if 97% of all validators had only censoring relays enabled, then 99.99% of the time a censored transaction would take to get through is less than an hour, provided your gas and tips were set accordingly, depending on what gas was at the time. I don't see this current thing as an issue. If they're trying to bring it to a testing and addition to block building, that would be a different ball game. If OFAC goes nuts and add the bajillion addresses, ditto, but right now the concern is overblown. So this was a discussion that actually we came back to a couple of times over the weekend, but I really like this explanation by Valdorff that even if like 97% of blocks were block proposals were censoring, then you'd still get your transaction through in an hour. However, if that was the case with Bitcoin, I think the equivalent was that it would take you 45 days to get your transaction through. So it's really great that, you know, ETH only has 12-second block times. Oh, this really great news came from Peteris or Peteris. I'm not sure because I always pronounced it as Peteris, but Ken was saying Peteris. So sorry if I've been getting that wrong the whole time. But here they have a breakdown of total validator share for Rocket Pool on the Ethereum network, and it's at 2% now. So we have 2% of the network staking with Rocket Pool, which is really great. However, we want to see that number do a 10x or at least a 5x from here. Even a 5x would do amazing things for the RPL price. So I'm in chief hype mode right now. So yeah, that's really great to see. LordBog came into trading yesterday with some information about how he's kind of throwing his weight around and like adding incentives to different pools. So we already talked about how he's adding incentives to Ribbon Finance's rETH vault, and now he's saying I voted with the Aurea I already have locked. It would be fantastic if a couple people could advocate for rewarding future votes. I'd be happy to buy more Aura to do this every cycle if I were compensated. So here he's boosting the RPL rETH pool, and he says, I'm losing $7,500 to do this, just a show of good faith. Make it so, I'll push those numbers up by a lot. I'm still in the camp that our pool 2, rETH RPL should have phenomenal yield. And then Marceau said that sounds like something that Tetra wanted to do. He wanted to build an incentivized 3 pool, rETH, ETH, and RPL. And LordBog says that sounds like an amazing plan. However, there was some feedback against this idea. I think what happened is Marceau took it to the rETH thread, and Valdorff responded to him by saying that it doesn't make sense to pay for Aura yield instead of renting it, so we can't just buy it outright. But then there was also discussion taking place about how it might not fit in with the needs of the IMC, and Yeah, okay, so yeah, Marceau shared it here. He said food for thought, and he shared his discussion with LordBog in the rETH liquidity pool. And Solar Curve said it is possible to do with Balancer, but might need a new pool. And then Wonder says you probably don't need a reminder, but just for anyone else reading, RPL liquidity isn't within the preview of the IMC. I think we'd need a different pool, different type of government proposal to do something here. My guess is something more it would be more controversial, since there are a lot of folks who disagree that RPL liquidity is needed. Many people believe a liquidity crunch is a good thing since it drives the price of RPL higher. I'm not taking a side here. I haven't thought about it enough yet. And then Whisker says adding RPL to rETH, wETH in the tripool drastically alters the risk profile for providing liquidity. I don't see much of a benefit because it really opens up the person to impermanence loss. And then Wonder is correct that it's not within the purview of the IMC. So that's an interesting discussion that was happening. Just a quick thing here for Sleety. He says he's working on his animated gift guide to RPL today. Here's a little preview of the general vibe. So you might have seen similar animation to this that was used in the Bankless ad, but it's really cool that Sleety's making progress on this. So I can't wait to see the finished product. Ramana had a quick update on their Rocket ARB, which was the automation tool for arbing the deposit pool when you want to start a mini pool to try to get some extra ETH for yourself. And he breaks down the new processes that are happening and how it's being tested on a Goldie shadow fork, but not yet tested on Goldie on mainnet, because you need to wait for a rETH premium for a proper test. So that's really good that we got that update. And Marceau shared this screen capture from the Beacon Chain website about the different pools and their rewards, and he said a bunch of irrational amateurs, and it's showing that the the Rocket Pool staking reward is 6.26%. In the third circle, Coinbase is 4.78% and Lido is 5.55%. So even though we're a bunch of irrational amateurs, we are delivering a lot more yield to people who stake with Rocket Pool, which is really fantastic to see. He said, I'm still confused about how to interpret this. And then there goes on to discussion about what's included in there and what's not, but it's really good to see that. And MiG21, he says, POAP time, DM me for the link. It's a POAP for the smoothing pool's 100 ETH milestone. And you message MiG21 and he'll send you a link to mint that POAP, which is really great. And finally, we're going to finish the longest ever Rocket Fuel episode with this series of tweets from the intern who had it here. He said it was great to see the ETH community rallying behind solo stakers and fighting further over the past few days. We showed the big organizations that their bloated structures and management fees are unnecessary. Home staking is easy and profitable without all of that complexity. And then there's a meme here on the left. You have the beta, Lido, basically people, and on the right here you have the Chad home staker. And there's a bunch of quotes here, and one of my quote is here as well. I says I've already broken even on cost overall, and then I get thanked in this, and a bunch of other people who had their comments and tweets about it. And then the intern shared information about some really great people who are staking in really unusual circumstances. And then so the interns decided to put on more threads in the future to help fight all of this misinformation floating around. Think about node setup, maintenance, time, cost, bandwidth use, penalties and rewards, risks, troubleshooting, and more. Let me know if you have any suggestions. So today's was a jam-packed episode because it covered the whole weekend. It's the longest episode of Rocket Fuel I've ever recorded. So maybe the Monday episodes are going to start being like this. But I'm going to stop recording now, and I hope you all have a great start to your week, and I'll see you all tomorrow. So bye.